but we just received the very informed address of the Chairman House Committee on Tertiary Education and Services, Right Honorable Aminu Suleiman. I want to appreciate the representation of the Chairman of the House Committee on Tertiary and Services. You're most welcome, Honorable Sir. Thank you very much. We have a man I call my friend and Siamese twin brother in the context of the triple helix drive we've been making and the drive for institutionalization of R&D in Nigeria beyond just the tertiary institutions. That is the Executive Secretary of National Universities Commission, who had to go to hospital last night. But he made sure he sent somebody that below him personifies R&D at the National Universities Commission, Dr. Ramon, who just spoke about representing him earlier. Like the Master of Ceremony said moments ago, we are privileged to have in our midst a clear endorsement of this family, of this gathering. I can tell you a few days ago when I decided to inform her, the daughter of Mr. President, Fatima Buhari, that we have this event and it means so much, not just for TETFund or the education ministry or sector, but for the entire of our country in the context of the institutionalization of R&D to drive knowledge economy in the 21st century. She said, Prof, I would like to be there. You better imagine how much I appreciate the daughter of Mr. President. God bless you, and thank you so much for this tacit endorsement of what we are doing. And I'm sure, I promise, with this caliber of people seated here, so faithfully and patriotically, we will make sure we don't disappoint Mr. President and yourself. Many have been introduced before now. I'll tell you one thing. We can only make sample introduction. This hall today, the composition of the personalities in this hall is history itself. It is history itself. By the time we read out, we give you a rendition of the personalities gathered here, it is the very topmost, the very best in intellectualism, in the academia, in research, as cutting-edge best for our country, both within and in diaspora, seated here. Beyond that, we also have a galaxy of representatives of the private sector, including some of the agencies that we sampled and requested them to join this committee, because in the triple helix model, it is incomplete if the academia are operating alone. It has already been said that universities are natural leaders, and historically so, of research. But that because they are leaders, it means they have partners. First in the line of partners for research is the industry. And that is why the industry is heavily represented here. Believe me, if I were to attempt just a casual reflection, we have the Dangote represented here, Innoson Motors, Seplat, the oil majors. We can go on and on. Research institutes in various disciplines across the sectors in this country, they are represented in most cases by the heads of those organizations. Some few have been named, and you better imagine what it means. The Nasenis of this world, of course, NIPRID, they were earlier recognized. We can go on and on. National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, as it were, NIPS, and NISA, virtually the key agencies that we we felt we needed to have them in this committee from Ministry of Science and Tech so that it reflects the proper position of the partnership that we have been forging between the academia and industry. By the way, let me apologize that although the chairman of the Board of Trustees of TETFund, Alhaji Kashim Ibrahim Imam, is not physically present because he's been indisposed recently, but he has sent his address and it is to be read by a member, one of the members of the Board of Trustees. And I think Dr. Clever, board member representing South-South. I think I saw you coming earlier, Dr. Clever. Oh, right here in front. Thank you for coming to represent the chairman. And I know you've been given his address and you will do so. Distinguished members of the committee, I say one thing for us in the academia, we say we have teachers, we have mentors, we have parents who molded us, we have grandparents, and believe me, in this hall, there are great-grand academic parents seated here, some of which we could never go near them when we were in the university system. You will get to mention a few of them. The chairman operates with the leadership of the committee anchored by 3 vice chairmen, and I know 1 or 2 have been mentioned. Let me say this in recognition of the role of the industry. The president of the Manufacturer Association of Nigeria, Engineer Mansour Ahmed, is right with us. Engineer Mansour Ahmed, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. He is one of the 3 vice chairmen of this committee to tell you the role of the private sector, the industry in particular. The representative of the academia, the very respected scientist, a man with so many laurels I cannot attempt to call, Professor Anya Oko Anya. In his mid-80s, he's with us here physically. Thank you so much. With the address for the purpose of ensuring we do not go beyond the time allocated. Today we are standing on the threshold of history as we are all gathered to witness what I consider the first step in our journey and quest to join the Committee of Knowledge Economies of the world. It is therefore with a heart full of joy and a sense of fulfillment that I welcome the Honorable Minister of Education and all the distinguished and illustrious sons and daughters of Nigeria that have honored our invitation to grace this occasion. You are welcome. The primary purpose of our gathering here today is to officially inaugurate the Research and Development Standing Committee approved by TETFund Board of Trustees to redefine our focus and drive a paradigm shift in our R&D enterprise. For far too long, there has been a palpable and worrisome disconnect between the academia and industry, such that research in our tertiary institution had become merely a tool to climb the academic ladder. For industry, it was more convenient to shop for innovations and the results of research findings in other climes outside the shores of Africa. This unpatriotic and unproductive orientation offends one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which identifies traditional and indigenous people at the center of development. It must be acknowledged that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has taken many significant initiatives in providing a framework for the development of science and technology by mainstreaming it into our national development strategies. That is the way to go, because the level of investment by governments in the innovative research and development as well as education determines the global competitiveness of their economies. Let me therefore express my deep appreciation to the President of the Federal Republic because of his leadership foresightness, as exemplified in the new development plan of his administration. On September 10, 2020, at the inauguration of the National Steering Committee to oversee the development of the Nigeria Agenda 2050, a medium-term national development plan which succeeds Vision 2020 and the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan 2017 to 2020, Mr. President stated that the main objective of the new plan of the federal government led by him are to lift 100 million Nigerians from poverty to the next 10 years, in the next 10 years, following World Bank's projection that Nigeria will become the third most populous country in the world by 2050, with over 400 million people. According to him, the Chinese development plans, which he said had brought no fewer than 700 million people out of poverty in the last 40 years, is a good example for us to copy. He added that China's development agenda only suffered a setback in the first quarter of this year as a result of COVID-19 outbreak. He added, COVID-19 pandemic, which has created economic crisis for both Nigeria and the entire world, also has its inherent opportunities, which he said presented the country with a platform to think and chart the path of progress. With 26 working groups and a national steering committee, the core driver of the new agenda going forward is quality education that will facilitate the achievement of the set deliverables within the time frame. At the core of global evolution of educational advancement, especially content component of educational packages, is R&D. No nation in the world has attained greatness without sound and qualitative education, with R&D playing the central developmental pivotal for sustainable development. Impact of COVID-19 pandemic on world economy manifested in Nigeria with devastating effects of slowing economic activities. Severity of COVID-19 impact on Nigerian economy recorded overall growth contraction in GDP growth rate of -6 to 10% by the second quarter of this year. During this period, only the agriculture sector recorded positive growth rate at 1.58% in real terms, while the industries and services posted massive contraction of -12.05% and -6.78% growth rate respectively. Similarly, I wish to use this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, for giving me a blanket check, literally, after he recommended my historic reinstatement by the President January last year as ES of TETFund. He told me to do anything that I am convinced is right and good for Nigeria, provided it does not breach our laws. With new impetus, I proceeded to work in harmonious closeness with the TETFund Board of Trustees, and to the credit of the BOT, they have given me all the support I have needed and requested them to bring us to this event. Permit me do something very unique. May I request members of the Board of Trustees of TETFund that are present to rise for recognition. If I don't thank these people, I am an ingrate. Believe me, there is hardly anything that I recall since I came that I proposed to them to support me and my management that they turned down. Thank you so much. God bless you. You did this for our nation. Thank you. Take your seat. For too long, there has been a palpable and worrisome disconnect between the academia and industry. Such that research and tertiary institutions were merely a means to climbing to academic ladder, and mostly for promotions, sadly, rather than problem solving for the good of our nation. For the industry, well, like I've always said, indeed, it has been said that the academic community in Nigeria has erroneously been clapping with one hand. You could not hear the audibility of a clapping that is with one hand. For the industry, it was more convenient to shop for innovation and the results of research findings in clime outside the shores of Nigeria, since the academia had developed thick walls and created artificial valleys that prevent the industry to leverage research outputs in our tertiary institutions, coupled with the mutual distrust between the academia and industry. Very sadly, as it has been, but God willing, after today, would have all changed. That's why we have Engineer Mansour leading the industrial district at the leadership of this important committee. These factors have negated the principles of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which identifies traditional and indigenous people at the center of development. It must be acknowledged, however, that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has taken many significant initiatives in providing a framework for the development of science and tech by mainstreaming it into our national development strategies. This can be viewed with the lens of 50% increment in the National Research Fund, of TETFund, in the year 2020 approved budget. Specifically, the Board of Trustees of TETFund, having realized the position of content development, especially the place of research and development in global ranking of tertiary institutions, recommended the increment of NRF, National Research Fund. Incidentally, the two key committees, standing committees of TETFund before now, their chairman and vice chairman are all here. NRF has been chaired and continues to be chaired by Professor Bamiro. Let me recognize Professor Bamiro. Where is Professor? Thank you. A former Vice Chancellor of University of Ibadan and a profound engineer and, of course, professor for that. And his deputy, Vice Chairman, as we call him, former Vice Chancellor, immediate past Vice Chancellor, and a renowned scientist of the Usman Danfodio University, Professor Zuru. Thank you, sir. Similarly, we have the Technical Advisory Group, TAC, chaired by another renowned scientist and recently elected President of the International Food Science and Technology Institute of the world, of course, Professor Ogugua Awo of the University of Ibadan. And his Vice Chairman, I simply call him my friend, of Academy, Academic Director, Bayero University, Kano, and a Professor of Communication. I want to say Mass Comm specifically. The Board of Trustees, having realized the position of content development, especially the place of R&D, increased NRF fund from initially original 3 billion seed fund for nearly 8 years to 5 billion naira in 2019. And this year, I was happy when my Director of R&D and Centers of Excellence mentioned it, that Mr. President, after the Board of Trustees recommended to him through the Honorable Minister of Education, approved unprecedented 7.5 billion for NRF research grant for TETFund. NRF, at the moment, is the foremost and largest funding window of R&D in Nigeria today. Thanks to Mr. President for his vision. And so, and the least we can do is to reciprocate this gesture by engaging in the R&D expedition that will result in goods and services that respond to our national aspiration and mitigate our national challenges, including the unfortunate insecurity situation in the country. Appropriately, therefore, the main aim of gathering some of Nigerian best brains at home and in diaspora to drive our science, technology, and innovation cannot be faulted. We at TETFund believe that nothing should be spared in pursuing a deliberate investment in R&D, as it remains the most potent strategy to pilot the affairs of this country towards sustainable development and global competitiveness of our country. Our shared vision in delivering on this national assignment is the mainstreaming of R&D as a catalyst of inclusive growth and sustainable development of Nigeria's knowledge economy. Together at RDSC, that's the Research Development Standing Committee, we are on the mission of institutionalization of R&D as the driver of Nigeria's 21st century development agenda within the context of the triple helix model, and more importantly, the quadruple helix model, where the society or nation becomes the fourth pillar of development agenda. The main goal of this committee about to be inaugurated is therefore to fast-track Nigeria's global competitiveness in product development and service delivery by leveraging innovation systems led by R&D. For too long, I have always said, in the academia, we are more concerned with publication to take us to the next rank. Very few patents came out of our publications, and many of the patents ended up not being taken up by industry. And that is why we have this platform that will sit and review the issues and challenges and proceed to make recommendations that will be a new beginning for our country. The key strategic focus of the exercise that this great committee is to undertake include institutionalization of R&D in Nigeria, content development in our tertiary institutions for improved global ranking, stimulating the development of R&D units and departments in Nigeria, establishment of National R&D Foundation for sustainable funding and management, mainstreaming R&D solutions for economic diversification, front-loading R&D for policy program and project development by governments at all levels. We can improve on the ranking of our universities, by the way, in Nigeria through deepening research, building our manpower capacity and enhancing our research infrastructure base. It looked like an utopian target from the beginning, but I'm happy to take note that TETFund has, through these deliberate interventions in our tertiary institutions over the years, achieved some significant milestones in this journey. We may not be there yet, but we are not where we used to be, for sure. Nigeria has 6 universities in the overall Times Higher Education World University Rankings. The highest ranking university in Nigeria at the latest ranking released barely 2 weeks ago is the University of Ibadan, which is ranked at in the first 500 by Times Higher Education World University Rankings. Take the top institutions in the world and look at the performance across of their core objectives, which we know. The top universities in Nigeria as of 2020 include the University of Ibadan in the top 500, Lagos State University between 501 to 600, University of Lagos between 601 to 800, Covenant University 801 to 1,000, and University of Nigeria in Nsukka 1,001 plus. The new global ranking by Webmetrics based on digital visibility reported as follows. The ranking are as follows. Number 1, University of Ibadan. Number 2, University of Nigeria. 3, Covenant University, Ota. 4, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife, of course. 5, University of Lagos. 6, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. 7, University of Ilorin. 8, Federal University of Technology, Akure. 9, Adekunle Ajashin University, I think that is Akumba, Akoko. Am I right? Thank you. And number 10, University of Port Harcourt. The ranking of universities in Africa is based on research institutional rankings. Well, we have them there, and I know that we have always been competing with mainly universities from South Africa and Egypt. And we thank God. Remember that about 6 years ago, there was no Nigerian university ranked among the top 10 in Africa, not even in the world. But 2-3 years after that, we had up to about 4 universities ranked. And at the moment, Nigerian universities are increasingly outpacing and outstepping universities from the other African countries. And it's been significantly attributed to the contributions of addressing the key issues of capacity, particularly strengthening faculty through TETFund interventions. Clearly, the above analysis justifies the need for today's inauguration. And the need, by the way, the full text of this lecture is being made available. Where I jump a few things is just to make sure that I do not overstretch my time. I'm sorry. Nigeria is yet to be well positioned globally despite our potential in human and material resources. This is the challenge I have humbly invited all of us here today to confront headlong with renewed dedication, commitment, and support. The thematic areas of groupings were carefully selected in line with the federal government of Nigeria intervention through Economic Sustainability Plan and New Development Plan of Mr. President post-ERGP and Vision 2020, which expires December 2020. The ultimate goal is to crystallize this effort in the floating of a national R&D foundation. It is our conviction that appreciable R&D funding will catalyze the competitiveness of Nigeria's economy and research